John Jungkook, a young man known for his dedication in everything he does, began his military service journey with passion and determination. However, like all young soldiers, he soon realized that the draft wasn't going to be easy. The first days at the military camp were full of intense physical training. From early morning until night, Jungkook and his comrades were trained to endure the most difficult conditions. Although his body was tired and his muscles ached, Jungkook never complained. He welcomed every challenge as an opportunity to grow stronger. In the darkness of the cold night, the military camp at the border was silent. Only the sound of the guards' steps echoed between the barracks. In one of the medical tents, a young soldier lay with a weak body and heavy breathing. He was John Jungkook, a young soldier who had only been in the military for a few months, but was now bedridden with a persistent illness. A few weeks earlier, Jungkook underwent intensive training in the middle of an extreme winter. The freezing temperatures and rigorous training schedule left his body exhausted. He tried to persevere as he always did, but his body eventually gave up. One morning, after running a long distance, he collapsed on the training field. "Jungkook, are you okay?" one of his teammates shouted, running over. Jungkook didn't answer. His body was hot as coals, but shivering violently. The medics immediately took him to the medical tent, where doctors diagnosed him with pneumonia due to prolonged exposure to the cold. In the medical tent, Jungkook looked weaker than usual. Although his body was rested, his mind was restless. He felt guilty that he had to leave training and burden his team. "I have to go back. I can't stay here," he muttered hoarsely as a nurse tried to calm him down. However, her condition did not improve. Her fever fluctuated, and her cough got worse. His colleagues took turns visiting him, bringing news from outside and encouraging him. One of his friends, Kim Taeyong, often came to bring warm food specially made by the camp cook. "Jungkook, you have to eat this. You need energy to recover," Taeyong said, sitting at the bedside. Jungkook only smiled weakly, trying to swallow a few spoonfuls of soup despite the bland taste on his tongue. Days passed, and despite the intensive treatment given, the healing process was slow. Their commander, who was initially stern, began to soften. He gave Jungkook additional time to fully recover. "You're an important part of this team, Jungkook. We need you, but we also want you to come back in the best condition possible," the commander said in an empathetic voice. In the midst of his recovery, Jungkook often reflected. He felt grateful for the support of his teammates, but also determined to become stronger. "I don't want to let them down again," he whispered to himself one night. Although not yet allowed to return to full training, Jungkook began helping out in the barracks and spending time with his team. He realized that his illness was an important reminder to take care of his body amidst the rigors of military service. With renewed vigor, he promised himself to become a tougher soldier, not only physically but also mentally. When night falls, Jungkook often gazes up at the stars in the sky, remembering his long journey through military service. "I'll come back stronger," he says quietly, and with that determination, he steps forward into his next days at camp. A few days ago, Jungkook and his team were tasked with protecting the president during martial law. The mission was full of risks, but Jungkook has always been known as a soldier who never backs down, no matter what. When a surprise attack happened halfway through, Jungkook was in the front row, protecting the president with his own body. "Jungkook, back off. We'll cover," shouted one of his comrades. But Jungkook simply shook his head and continued his duty. With incredible agility and courage, he managed to block the enemy's attacks, even as bullets whizzed around him. However, amidst the chaos, a huge explosion shook the ground. Outside the tent, the other soldiers gathered, talking about Jungkook's bravery. "He saved us all," a young soldier said in a trembling voice. "If not for him, this mission would have failed." Meanwhile, the president whom Jungkook had saved sent a special message to the camp. In his message, he expressed his deep gratitude for Jungkook's bravery. "John Jungkook is a true hero. "I owe him my life," the president wrote. Days passed, but Jungkook still lay weak. His body began to show signs of recovery, but his fever did not subside. Doctors mentioned that Jungkook's mental state also had a big influence on the healing process. He was often delirious in his sleep, calling out the names of his teammates and asking them to be careful. One night, as heavy rain poured down on the camp, a close colleague of Jungkook's, Kim Taeyoung, sat by his bedside. Taeyoung held Jungkook's hand tightly, whispering, "You have to be strong, Kook. Everyone is waiting for your return. You are our strength." Those words, though simple, seemed to give Jungkook the encouragement to fight his pain. Slowly, his condition began to improve. His fever dropped, and he began to open his eyes, even if only briefly. "Tae, is the president safe?" were the first words out of his mouth. Taeyoung smiled while holding back tears. "He's safe, Jungkook. Thanks to you." Months after the incident, Jungkook had finally fully recovered. He again stood tall in front of the line, despite the scars left on his body. The scar became a symbol of his bravery and sacrifice. The president personally came to the camp to give Jungkook the highest honor. "John Jungkook, for your bravery and dedication. This country owes you a debt of gratitude," the president said as he presented the Medal of Honor. Applause echoed throughout the camp, and Jungkook just smiled a small smile, modest as ever. However, underneath it all, Jungkook knew that his sacrifice was not just for the country or the president, but for his teammates, his family, and the values he had always held dear. In his heart, he promised to continue protecting them no matter what. True bravery is not just about facing danger bravely, but also about protecting those we care about, even if it means sacrificing ourselves. Sacrifice and the determination to rise up after adversity show that a hero never truly gives up, even when his body and soul are tired. Jungkook teaches us that the greatest strength comes from a sense of responsibility, love for others, and a commitment to keep moving forward,